Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Charlie Mike, hosted by me, Mike Buchanan. This podcast is here for you to stay up to date with all things VA, while at the same time getting to know veterans and others who are either helping us continue our veteran mission or who are continuing the veteran mission themselves as veterans. So today, we're going to be talking to Jon Tarell. It's Tarell, correct?
It's Tarell.
Okay, because I tell you all the time, I live in Terrell, Texas, and so we always pronounce it Terrell, because when I pronounced it Tarell, they were like, where are you from? Okay, so Jon Tarell. Okay, so Jon Tarell, we're going to be talking to Jon Tarell, who is I'm going to read this from the script because it's such a long title. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So Senior Manager of Veteran and Military Connected Student Services for Dallas College.
Nailed it.
Is that it?
That was perfect.
Okay. All right, cool. So tell everybody, tell everybody, hey. Let's just start with that.
Hey.
Okay, so this is your camera. So if I do anything dumb, feel free to look at the audience and tell them that I did something dumb. So basically, let's just start with this. Who are you? Let's tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background.
Sure. My name is Jon Tarell, as you so articulately put it from the jump.
He's going to make fun of me.
No, so I was in the Air Force for a little over 6 years. I was combat camera, public affairs. I did Tops in Blue for a whole year. We toured for the 60th anniversary of the Air Force. I was the video director for that. Deployed, Iraq, Afghanistan, blah, blah, blah. Get out, got into being a school certifying official at Brookhaven College at the time, which is just in North Dallas. Did that for about 6 years. Then they collaborated with all the other community colleges in Dallas to become one like Voltron community college.
I love it. I love it. You said Voltron.
Yeah,
it's such a good throwback.
About, right?
It's so good.
So now it's just Dallas College.
Yeah.
And I am the senior manager for all of the program leads at all the campuses. So we're trying to do that student-facing interaction with the veteran or the military-connected student. So like a spouse or a dependent, right, who's using those benefits, or just people who are trying to go about their second educational journey and try to be successful, utilizing maybe some of the community resources that they don't know about and some of the nonprofit vendors that are around to help out veterans and their families, and really just try to facilitate successful transitions from the military or from the reservists into the community.
That was really eloquently put. How many times did you have to do that?
Honestly, I was making it up like on the cuff, dude.
Yeah, that was
like,
good.
I kind of like belt painted myself in a corner there at the end there. I'm like, what am I going to say?
Yeah, everybody out there, learn from this. Public affairs is where it's at if you want to know how to tell a story correctly.
Yeah.
It's a good skill to have. All right, so let's talk about this. What does the current, I guess, college experience look like for veteran students these days?
Well, it's wild, I would say, because it's not indicative of what all of the other students are going through. So if you were in high school the last couple of years, you lost your junior year, you lost your senior year, right? Because you were at your home the whole time. Veterans really didn't have to do that. But what they did was lose that transitional time to be on a college campus after they got out of the military. Or their last year in the military was clunky, we'll say, because of COVID. And then they have to go to a college campus and really try to learn their benefits virtually, as opposed to being face-to-face with people. So that was a very, very arduous process for a lot of veterans, and so much so that a lot of them said, you know what, I'll take a beat. Maybe I don't use my GI Bill right off the bat. Maybe I go try my hand in the workforce. Well, the workforce was tripping too, right? So then they were like, man, I kind of need some of these soft skills. I didn't really get them in the military. Man, I'm going to come back and utilize some of my GI Bill in some capacity. And then at that point, they're like, well, I want to be tactical with how I do this, because let's face it, we were in the military at one point. We kind of try to think pragmatically.
Sure.
And because of that, you realize I don't maybe need a 4-year degree. What I need is a certificate, or what I need is the promise of a job from Amazon or AT&T, and I'm going to be able to go in and just get the skills that I need from the relationship that the college has with these employers.
Smart.
Exactly.
I mean, it's really smart. I had a chat with my kids the other day about this because my kids were like, well, do we really have to go to college? And I was like, these days, No, I mean, because like these days, I think that everyone kind of had, especially during COVID, right? Because everyone had time to go to college. So like, I mean, like they had time off of work, really, right? So they had more time to go to college or have the college experience that they probably never did, or at least start that or finish it, right? Finish that college experience for themselves. And so nowadays, it seems like back in my day when I was getting out of high school, I don't even want to tell you when I got out of high school, but it was, long ago. College is a big deal. Like, you needed a college degree to get a lot of huge jobs. And nowadays it seems like trade jobs are really, I mean, they're really up there, especially IT jobs, which I guess people wouldn't really consider trade jobs, but I guess they are kind of now, right?
Well, yes, and we have a lot of opportunities in like lower level robotics and things of that nature, right?
That's
Which are
even
not
cooler.
considered trade jobs in the past, but HVAC now is you're working on a robot. And they say that you don't make anything in this country anymore. That's a huge mantra that people try to say. That's kind of BS. We do make stuff. We're just making robots that make stuff.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we're manufacturing here is
Yeah.
the thing to make the shoe, not having 17 people associate like one nail in each sole of the shoe, right?
Yeah.
So we really need to try to gear our workforce toward being specialized in that way. And Europe is kind of already a little bit ahead of us. They kind of tag these students at 14, 15. Hey, dude, if you're not trying to become a doctor, maybe you should start to work on cars if that's what your passion is. Maybe you start focusing on that at 16, 17 years old, right? And so they're good about transitioning, and there's not a stigma, a negative stigma that
Sure.
you don't have this traditional college experience where you're, you know what I mean, doing keggers at the U or whatever, right? Like that's not the case anymore. People are not necessarily disenfranchised.
Sorry, I muted you.
No worries.
My bad.
People are not necessarily disenfranchised with getting a college degree,
Yeah.
but it's just not as worth as much as what it was, especially in the liberal arts side. I will say that on the STEM side of the house, that 4-year degree is critical because that's just foundational stuff that you're going to continue to go and you continue to get accolades and sheepskins on your wall, and that's going to continue to advance your salary. So college now has become this very elites having a perception of it, and the working class has a perception of it, right? And they're both tools to get certain things accomplished in your career, and it's not the same shoe fits all.
Yeah. For me, like I went to Dallas College. I graduated, graduated with a 2-year, so associate's degree from Richland College, which is over there in Garland.
Right on.
Great school. I had a fairly good experience. We talked. I mean, it was good. I mean, it was as good as it could be for getting out of the military and not knowing what the heck I was supposed to do. But yeah, I mean, I got a 2-year degree, but then I kind of just fell off because I was like, okay, what am I really gonna do with this, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I guess all veterans kind of get into that mind space, I guess, at some point. And I guess that's kind of what you help with now, right? Like, especially your office, you could help guide them in kind of a particular direction, correct?
That's right. My office is there to facilitate you doing anything that you'd want, whether it's utilizing your benefits, which there's a lot of bureaucratic red tape. You work for the VA, you know that we kind of get boggled down in some of that stuff. My staff is there to help facilitate. You've been able to figure that out, which benefit you're trying to use, maximizing that benefit, making sure all your classes are going to be good to go, right? But they're also there to help you reevaluate those EPRs and regurgitate them into a digestible resume so that civilians can see exactly what you did.
What's an EPR?
An EPR is like an evaluation that you had when you were in the military, and then you get a bunch of these like evaluation reports, but it's just military speak. It's littered with axioms and initialisms, and you know what I mean.
So it's an Air Force thing. Is that how you guys get promoted?
Specifically an Air Force thing, yes.
We don't have those. No. The Army doesn't have those.
Fair enough. And I literally just stepped in the trap right now. I still talk like I am a veteran in the same way that people who do a lot of you guys speak inside baseball, right? And we really want to enjoy that, but we have to learn how to use it in an environment where it's successful to you and have that EQ to be able to turn it off and maybe use different language or different synonyms when you're trying to communicate with somebody else. Yeah. So my office is, again, facilitating those types of things. They're also there to help with things like making the decision to take online classes or on-campus classes, helping to decide whether or not you want to participate in a student veteran association. Maybe you can become a work study and then parlay your talents to peer-to-peer mentoring or tutoring. And we were discussing off air about how that really helps your resume building, right? And then that really helps your ability to become well-rounded because the military teaches some type of way and it's successful, but it doesn't fit into every hole or that you're able to advertise yourself for, I would say you want to try to make yourself as widely available as possible when you're trying to get that job. And let's be real, you're going to college to get a better job. That is generally what's motivating most people, is to become better at the thing that they have, or because they already have a job and you're just trying to get that next level, right? And that's very, very helpful in the community college space. It's way more complicated in the 4-year school. So I really try to stay in that community college area, because I really think that that's the biggest gaps we have as military and veterans, is there's so much opportunity that's just not getting picked up. And I will elaborate probably on that a little bit further.
Yeah. So, that does bring up a pretty good question. I mean, honestly, a lot of what you said brings up a lot of good questions. So I really don't know where to kind of go in the direction, because it raised so many good stuff. But let's just talk about this real quick. So what do you think that the biggest difference is between like community college and 4-year?
4-year students really need to know exactly what they want. They need to be going in there with the direct line between their academic advisor and what their career goals are, and be very, very disciplined in how they're going to achieve
Very
that.
specific.
Very, very specific with their path that they're going to take and their academic journey, right? They can't be frivolous, because at a 4-year school, those extra months that you just took deciding to take underwater basket weaving, or because there was that
great class, by the way.
Right? Oh, dude,
great.
underrated.
I mean, great
underrated.
class.
Very popular in Alabama, I hear.
Yeah, great class.
So no. So what I think is that when you get your military credits, kind of get eaten up with your electives, so you don't get the opportunity to do a lot of fun stuff in college and try things out. You have to be way more selective with what classes you're taking, because they're toward that degree. And with that 4-year degree, it's generally not a 4-year degree. It's going to be a 6-year degree, because you're going to get that master's, that PhD, because the field that you're in is going to require that. And community college is way more of I spent 4 years in the Marines. I'm 22 now. I got in because I didn't want to go to college. Now I'm out and I get this full ride. I guess I want to go to school. I guess I want to be the foreman of this construction crew as opposed to working on it, right?
Yeah.
How do I do that? Maybe I got to get a little taste of some supervision certificates or something like that. And so what we're trying to do is marry that attitude, I still don't know what I want to do, with where are the demands in the workforce in the community. DFW is huge. We're the most thriving economies in the nation, right? The reason that we have that is because we have just that Texodus, that influx of folks coming in here. But that doesn't.
Did you just call it Texodus?
Texodus. That's right.
That's so good.
All them cats from Cali and Portland and all that. Yeah, they're all coming down here because we have a lot of good stuff, right? So yeah, I just kind of feel that there is this opportunity for them to come in and realize that there's jobs at lower levels, and if they just took school that was specialized to advance that very specific career that they want to get into, or maybe they don't, they want to test it. I'm not sure if I want to do IT. That's fine. Just get a certificate. Just because you have this C++ or this HTML certificate, it's never going to hurt you, bro. Right? It might not help you necessarily because you eventually want to go become an architect. I get that, but it might. Right? And just putting on your resume is great. And getting that taste of what the IT world is like, and realizing you're going to be working in your pajamas all day and having to help people restart their computers. That's a huge portion of if you're, doing personal assistance. So these are the things that you don't know until you know them. Yeah. Right. And I think that because we don't have a lot of trade schools for you to be able to make those mistakes, community college is a great opportunity for you to try to try out some things and see what you might be successful at.
So it's a good step off point.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's what I use it as. I use it as a step off point because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I did know that I wanted to try at least to shoot towards a higher education goal, right? And so I knew that it was going to be rough because I hadn't been in school in God knows how long, like 10 years, I think, at that point, after I did like 7 years in the military. And so, yeah, I mean, it was a lot. It was a big change and transition. But I think you're right. I think community college for me was a really good experience. I mean, it was a really good step-off experience. It kind of gave me, okay, like maybe I want to shoot for this path or maybe I want to shoot for this. Even though, before I even started that whole journey, I was like, I can go in like 12 different directions. And then when I finally got done with my 2-year degree, I was like, No, I could just go in like two directions. So at least it helped me like kind of like whittle down like where I really wanted to start putting my effort into.
Yeah, it sieves out a lot of distractions and other things that kind of that you lose focus if you see everything as opposed to kind of having blinders on. And the other thing is that when you are able to not take such a big investment, you can pull back out a little bit easier, right? You're dipping your toe in the water. You're not spending a half a year trying to get into UTD, pouring all the resources and the time that you got into that, and then realizing you didn't like IT. And now you're like, well, here I am. You know what I mean? So,
right.
And then you only have so many other months of your benefit left. Like traditionally, most people are using the post 9/11, right? That's 36 months of benefits. Now, it's not a shot clock. The second you start using them, they don't dissipate in 36 months. When you use them, you get used up, right? So it's like prorated. But at the same time, if you squandered 12, 13 of those months on a lower level Associates of Arts degree when you decided to go into science instead, that's going to really be, that's going to stick in your craw right later when you're like, man, now I'm having to pull my FAFSA. And now I thought I was going to be able to get this full ride, and it's really not going to be the case.
Yeah.
So that could be a little alarming to some students.
So let's talk about dependents and spouses. I honestly really don't think that we cover dependents and spouses enough. My personal opinion is the VA really needs to get on top of that because we should be at the forefront of all things veterans, right? And especially now that we're shooting towards whole health and more holistic healthcare in the VA. What is more, I told our whole health people, you might agree with me, you're a veteran, right? But what I told our whole health people is it really whole health if you're not including my family? Right? Because like that is a part of my life. It's a huge part of my life. So like if you're not including that portion of my life, is it really holistic? Right? Is it really?
Right.
But so I know that colleges do a heck of a lot better job. Well, usually do a pretty good job at least offering some sort of benefits towards dependents and spouses. Can you expand on that just a little bit?
Absolutely. So yeah, and I think we all heard when we were active duty, hey, the whole family serves. Like that's such a huge truism, I guess. And it's just like when you're at the office and you can tell someone's not getting good sleep or something like that, and you expect them to be 100% in their job duties, you're like, this is silly. They're clearly that hierarchy of needs says that you need to make sure that their family's okay before you're ever going to care about your job, right? You got to make sure that you're hungry and you're sheltered, and then maybe you worry about other things. I think it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs or something.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. That was really good. That was good.
So what I would say is that Dallas College has taken the mantle of, this is why my title is so big, right? I am like the king and czar and president and a veteran and military connected student services. I have all of those names because the veteran and military connected really means that Dallas College is trying to emphasize that the whole family's serving, and we want not just the veteran, but the spouse or the dependent as well. The military-connected student needs to be able to use our facilities and give that wraparound service. So our workshops that we are establishing, whether it's for financial literacy, disability information sessions based off of like orientation of new veteran benefits, all these things are always all-encompassing, and we want to invite the largest swath of people that we possibly can. So we want the veterans to come. We want them to bring their wives or their husbands. We want them to bring their children if it's relevant, right? We want to try to be able to gear our programming to the entire family so that everyone is there, because most of the resources that go unidentified or uncollected are for the spouses and the dependents, right? A lot of scholarships are out there, and they're just basically waiting on a 500-word essay from like that little amount of effort is all that they do. And they're trying to give, Home Depot's trying to give this $5,000 scholarship for a 500-word essay to a spouse of a veteran based off of certain parameters, X, Y, or Z, right? And there's so many of these, whether they are based off of your racial makeup, your social economic makeup, whether they're based off of the branch of service that you're in, the classes that you're taking, so what your degree plan is going to be. All of these tiny little scholarships are just constantly going unclaimed, right? Like they're just a tree falling in the woods and no one's around. And it's like, okay, so now that it's expired. So this company is trying to give back to the veterans, and the veterans aren't taking it because they don't know it, or they think I already have my own VA benefits selfishly, right? I don't need to worry about anything else. And so So it's really good for the students to understand that they're students too. So when you have a spouse or a dependent, they should also be applying for their FAFSA. They should also be accepting any grant that's available to them. They should also be exhausting every available avenue for scholarships, because as long as it's not a having a brain fart.
Okay.
Not a grant, but a loan, right? As long as it's not a Stafford loan, which they are so keen on giving you. As long as you can stay away from those, everything else is just plentiful and not being plucked from the tree, basically.
I think veterans do it a lot, though. I mean, I think that we're really if we're good at anything, we're good at thinking that we're informed fully.
Right.
When usually we're not necessarily fully informed.
Right. And just to that note, actually, this is a good caveat. And I want to just end cap that last point by saying, Stafford Loans, the loan piece of this, not grants or not the FAFSA that when you apply. So everyone needs to apply for FAFSA. If you get anything from this, please be applying for your FAFSA. Please accept any grant that's given to you. Do not accept any loans. Veteran, dependent, spouse, do not accept Stafford Loans because they never go away. They never go away. I'm saying that you could literally, it's the only loan that we have in our country where you could file for bankruptcy and you still got to pay your student loans.
Wow.
So I really got to emphasize this.
What a trap.
I know, right?
What a trap.
It's wild.
Man, and all we want is an education. We don't want debt for the rest of our lives. Oh, well, such is life.
All you want education, or do you want a good job?
Probably a good job.
I think you
just want to make more money.
And you want to make, you want to better yourself and your family. And there's nothing
Exactly.
wrong with that. And once we start being real with why students are going to school and why they're spending this kind of money, we can start addressing problems that stem from them not being successful and not completing these certificates or these degree plans.
I think it's smart. I think because it, especially as a veteran, in a veteran mindset, it's really smart because like we don't want to waste time. That's why we're so pragmatic, right? Is because we're just like, okay, why are we wasting this much time talking about all these things when it doesn't matter? You know, like why am I going to go learn about astronomy when I want to be a business major? You know, like it serves me no purpose.
Mike, it's giving you a more well-rounded education.
Give me the college answer.
Because when you are playing beer trivia at the local Alamo Draft House, you're going to get that answer.
Yeah.
And you're going to win.
Sure.
That's
That's exactly what it is. That was a good answer. This is why your title is so long. Okay, it's because you can just come up with answers like that on the fly.
I know, right?
I know, it's good. Okay, so we covered spouses a bit, and you're right. You're very much right about the spouses. I think that spouses should take advantage of more of what is out there for them. There's not a lot. Let's just get that straight. Maybe there is financial aid, but I'm just saying for spouses in general, like there's just not a lot of places that they can go to. Like there's tons of places for us as veterans, right? That we can go to. There's, places like Wounded Warrior Project, all these organizations that are just out there for all this stuff that's veteran. But like when it comes to veteran spouses, it's like, it's real bleak.
It is. My CAA, bleak. I would say my CAA is
What's that?
It is a spouse education assistance program where they're basically going to pay for the tuition for the spouse. Now that's even if you're active duty, right? Yeah. You can use this. It's a good step in the right direction,
sure,
right? But it's kind of a pain in the butt to get it all going and stuff like that. It's not certainly easy, and they don't do a great job of advertising it, right? Because this is a VA program.
Oh,
you're just hearing about it, so clearly. They're killing it. So
killing it. We are. Thank you.
I would say that another thing is that it's all about your disability rating really opens up or closes a lot of doors in the way that VA benefits work, right? So there's the Hazelwood benefit, which is if you're 100% disabled, right? Your Hazelwood benefit can go to your spouse.
Yeah.
So again, not
Hazelwood is Texas specific.
Hazelwood though is Texas specific.
If you joined here in Texas, like you're a Texas native.
That's right. And you had to have an honorable discharge.
Yes.
Or something other than dishonorable, right? So that's the Hazelwood. But here's the thing. Yes, that's specific to Texas. There's something like that in many, many states. Most states got a thing that if you just looked into it from wherever you got into the military, what does Connecticut, I know, has some juicy benefits, right? California's got some stuff. Like
except for Georgia. Georgia's like, nah, we don't care.
Well.
Because that's where I joined.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
And Georgia's like, nah.
I went to Pennsylvania. Yeah, I went through Pennsylvania. They didn't have it either. So
yeah.
I dig it. But I would say that you're right. The dependent piece is a little bit easier to get some benefits from than the spouse piece. But that's where the scholarships come in.
Sure.
And that's where it's known about what to apply for. And really 500-word essays are not that difficult. It's a couple paragraphs.
I think it's such a great idea to have an office though like yours. And I think that more and more campuses are trying to set up offices. I see more and more campuses trying to set up offices. And honestly, like as a veteran myself, when I decided to go to college, back to college, I specifically looked for that on their website. Like I specifically looked on the website, okay, is there like a veteran portion of the website? Because if they care enough to put a veteran portion on the website, they might care enough to like take care of me as a veteran at the college, right? Because like I know I went on to some college websites, like I'll say this, I know TCU very well. I know April over there at TCU. She does a great job, right? But when I first looked into just, let's say TCU, okay, as a 4-year college, I know it's expensive. I know it's a private school, but I looked into it,
Sure.
okay? But when I looked on their website, no veteran stuff. And so I was like, really like, do I really want to do that? You know, does that make sense, right?
Yeah, sure. You want to see yourself represented. You want to know that they are going to take care of you. I would.
Or that you have a place to go. I mean, at least to get the knowledge. You have so much knowledge. You just dropped right here in the last 25 minutes that we've been talking, or 22 minutes that we've been talking. And it's like, it's information I didn't even know, right? And I work for the VA, and you just told me about a VA program I didn't know about. And so like, that's a problem. Like that's a huge problem. But I think that it's cool that at least colleges are taking the step in the right direction to have an office like yours, to have people that are knowledgeable like you, working staff members like you, to be able to spread that message. I mean, it's kind of the similar thing of what we're trying to do here with this podcast or outreach team or whatever.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like you're trying to dispel those myths and rumors. You're trying to get people a leg up on the competition. You're trying to get people a leg up on the bureaucracy and the paperwork and the red tape. And, you know, you're just one big long limbo line.
Yeah, basically what you want to do is you want to have someone there that is going to be like, I got this, right? And I would liken it to finance is messy. And the more you know about finance, the more complicated it gets. And if you're able to just go to an accountant and be like, listen, man, I know I got to do my taxes. I know I got X going on with my mortgage. I know I have this going on with my bills. To have someone say, listen, man, I got you. I can help you navigate this entire thing. To have that like warm blanket wash over you of security, knowing like, hey, the VA tries to facilitate that, but you guys are, hell, man, you're turning battleships on a dime. That's what you're attempting to do, right?
I like that.
It's hard for y'all to do anything quickly. And the way that COVID has happened is exponentially sped everything up. So colleges have had to jump to basically all online, everything. Whereas explaining these things to you, and it takes 25 minutes, right, to happen, I need that student to come into the classroom. Come into our office. And for us to have this conversation one-on-one, not to have 3 or 4 back and forth emails that really are just filled with brevity and kind of like really exact answers about some specific task. You need to be able to have this back and forth and feel that you are going to be taken care of with a warm body on that campus, man. I think that we're losing touch with that, and I think that that's really hurting our ability to get specifically males back in college. Like our issues now, our numbers, we're static with females. We'd love more students all the time, of course, right?
Sure.
But females are going to school at a clip of like 2/3 as much as males now. We really, and what 80% of the military is male, right? So really we're needing to understand or get these guys to kind of reconfigure what their idea of college is and how they can be successful, right? And steer them toward, listen, there's going to be somebody at this campus that's going to help you out. I know you look at everything is Trump University, right? Or everything's some scam, and they're thinking about for-profit colleges and stuff like that. Dallas College is not that, right? We're literally trying to we're not in it for the money, man. We're in it to help out the community. And our whole goal is to take out that piece of compliance. We put that somewhere else. And so all these program leads are just there to talk to these students about what their future's gonna be like, what their family's future's gonna be like, what their wants, needs are, and to be able to make sure that hierarchy of needs is met so that they can just focus on school and being successful and being the great leaders that we know that they will be eventually, right?
Yeah. So, you said it good, and I think it's a good segue, and let's do briefly, because we're running out of time. But so why don't you just talk to us a little bit about what kind of the difference nowadays after COVID, campus versus virtual. So like on campus versus the virtual experience.
Oh, okay. So I would say that we're transitioning more, trying to get more classes on campus again. We were definitely all online for a good 3 semesters, I believe. And then we are transitioning out of that. But even that, we're seeing our numbers are still matriculating back up very slowly but surely, because we had the Omicron scare, and you know what I mean? Like, we're not really sure. And so now we're seeing legislation sort of kind of come down where it's like, hey, maybe this is going to be an endemic and not a pandemic. And the mindset of people under the age of 30, which pretty dramatically bought into our narrative, right, are starting to kind of come into a comfort level with being around other people, whether that's masked or maskless. We are fully masked on Dallas College campuses right now. I will still say that. But our goal is to get them back on campus and away from the online, because we're seeing our grades are nowhere near as high as they are, almost as much as a letter grade below really where they would be if they were on campus, if not more so. And this is really critical in places like math and in English, when things are ambiguous, and potentially you have this math class and you're on step 7 of a problem. It's very difficult to email your instructor just about this one portion of a 12-step problem. You're only having this one issue. It's very hard to communicate that way. And you don't have any of that spirit of core that the military provided for you, because there's no study groups that are happening organically, right? It's all based off of digital message boards and comments. And we all know online comments, people can get wild, right?
Yeah.
It's not really indicative of what true conversation and what true social skills are having. So we want to try to really rekindle the communication and the community that happens on a community college.
Plus, it's not how everybody learns either, right? Like, I know I did all of mine online when I went to Dallas College, but it was difficult. I mean, it was really difficult because that's not how I learn, right? So unless the professor had learning experiences like on YouTube or watching videos, like I learn visually, right? And so I'm a visual learner. And so, like, when I just listened to a lecture or something like that was recorded on audio, and I'm like, okay, this is like, I can't, like, it's really hard for me. I don't want to say I can't. That's bad words. But I can, but it's very difficult, right? And so I think you're right. I think I would prefer on campus. I know a lot of other veterans would. Plus, I think it's really good for veterans because I think that we suffer with isolation a lot. And I think that for veterans especially, we should always be wanting to go somewhere in person as much as possible, as much as we can.
Yeah, the metrics show that basically the students who participate in on-campus activities, whether that's a student veteran association, they're in the debate club, they're going to do student government, they're going to participate in they're going to volunteer at basketball games or whatever the case may be, right? We see the grades are better for those students because they're on campus longer. And we understand the trials and tribulations of our specific population. Our students are generally a couple years older than the average student. They usually have a lot more life experience, usually maybe a child or two. They're usually married, right? And they have responsibilities outside of your general college student, especially community college student, 18 years old, 20 years old, right? Still trying to find himself. That being said, if they could collectively find each other, right? In the same way, like message groups of people who love blonde-haired cats, right? And they all find themselves.
That was a good one. He changed it. He changed it to blonde-haired cats. The veteran in him changed it real quick.
I was gonna say they had the 2 different eyes. I forget. I was like, they had 2 different eye cats. I was gonna say that, but like, no.
Yeah.
So listen, you can just find your people, right?
Yeah.
And that community, and you can find people who understand what you say, how your tastes go, like your joking kind of plays into how they joke, right? And that community is so critical to veterans specifically. And I don't think that they understand what they don't know what they don't have.
They don't know what they don't know.
And exactly. And if you started your career in really 2020, right, your academic career, dude, you don't know that you're missing out on student veteran associations and stuff like that because you've done everything from your basement or in your pajamas because everything's been online.
I mean, I will end with this question, okay? In the shortest form possible, if the VA could help higher education do one thing, what do you think that it would be?
Wow.
I know it's a doozy question. That's why I saved it to the end.
Okay. If the VA could do one thing,
if we could open up communication better, if we could be more transparent, if we could, I don't know, whatever it is. work with you better as community partners? What do you think that it would be? What could we do?
Oh, that's a fascinating. I mean, it's hard to just say one specific thing.
I know.
But I would.
You only get to pick one.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I think that they should do a better job of including colleges specifically in the surrounding communities that these bases are at in their transition assistance programs.
Okay.
So like when we get out of the military, you usually get about a week, depending on what branch you're in and what your circumstances are for getting out. Let's be real, right? You usually get about a week where they're going to go through everything that you're ever going to need to know as a civilian, right? And you're like, okay, that seems like a lot in a short amount of time. And then they carve out maybe 2 or 3 hours to your education benefits. And I really think that that's a disservice to the best benefit. And usually a huge swath of military members join the military for that specific reason. And you gave me 3 hours on a Tuesday about how I'm going to utilize this. And then you send me out into the world and you want me to do big and good things. I would say if they could create articulation agreements with like local community partners like at Dallas College to be at, for example, at Fort Hood when these guys are getting out and be like, no, we're going to bring in some people who know exactly how to manipulate these benefits to maximize it specifically to you. And let them all talk to a school representative just for a little bit, just to get some broad general advice about, oh, this is some missteps that you could potentially fall into based off of what you're telling me about your career goals, or this is the most efficient way for you to utilize your benefit because this sounds like this is what you want to do.
It's a great idea. Great idea.
Right on.
I mean, except then we're going to have to get the DOD on board. You know that they... You just know the DOD.
Are they busy? I think they're in Ukraine right now.
Yeah, they're always busy doing something, man. All right, well, listen, man, thank you so much for being on. I really do appreciate it. I know you're a busy person with such a long title. So thanks so much for being on. I really do appreciate it. And that's all. I guess, do you have any parting words?
No, just to say that, listen, if anyone's considering going to college, we really welcome you to walk into any of our Dallas College campuses. I have a staff member there that will be able to elaborate and get granular on any of the topics I've mentioned today. And yeah, peace be with you, I guess, man.
Sweet. And also with you.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks, man. Thanks, everybody. That's it. That's all we got for you today. Please remember, if you found us on YouTube, to like, subscribe, comment down below. It really helps the algorithm, and I really like answering the comments. I really do. I love it. But no one ever comments, so I don't get to answer very much. But please like, subscribe, comment. Also follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and at hashtag VA North Texas. And that's it. Until next time, remember, just Charlie Mike.
Don't tread on me.